Maximum effort.
Yo, don't read the following if you're easily offended. I don't like the strategy of walking the shuttle runs in 23.2. I think everyone should give their best physical effort.
Maximum effort!
I understand having to walk a few here and there based on an individual's physical capacity, but if you're able to run, then run. Push yourself. Improve. Is your strategy better and will help you improve your score? Perhaps. Are you challenging yourself physically, pushing yourself through being uncomfortable and training your endurance? I would say no. This is just my gut reaction to seeing people who are more than capable of running decide to walk. Maybe that's on CrossFit, a program or workout where walking would not benefit the athlete. Just my opinion. Again, I'm not trying to attack anyone here. I think debate is healthy, so curious to know what others think at HillerFit. This comes from an account, Shots by Soroka. I know this guy. His name is Alex. He was a member of my affiliate the one time that I owned an affiliate. As the account states, he is a photographer. He's a very good athlete as well as a very good photographer. And at the top of this, he says, don't read this if you are going to be easily offended. And you know, I actually think that I am unoffendable. Good freaking luck. Do your worst. But the reason that I'm making this video is because when something catches as much interaction as something like this had, and I had upwards of 30 or 40 people now sending me their own responses into my messages, I need to make a video on it because it'd be dumb for me to not do that. So, and as some of you guys know, I put up that video and I did it at 12:01 a.m. Central Time, so that from that point you had then, 17 hours to possibly see that video and then try to redo that workout with walking, because as I said, you can get upwards of 10% better on that workout with walking. Over the course of the day, a whole bunch of people were sending me stories, tagging me and stuff. They were doing better not only on the first portion with the butt burpee pull-ups and the shuttle walks, but also on the lift. And why is that? What is it that is making people do better? And why is it that Alex Soroka doesn't agree with this? I made a video over a year ago, before I made a video a day, and it was testing versus training. And the thumbnail had Matt Fraser on it, and the gist of that video, which I don't even need to watch because I only have one state of mind, one train of thought, and I always just talk about the same things over and over and over again. But in that video, I'll know that there are times in which you are training to get better at anything. And then Matt Fraser, I think, is a prime and shining example of that. And then there are times where you are testing what you have been doing in your training. And if we're to go line by line on this, let's look at the first thing. Don't get offended. All right, if you're gonna get offended, I'm not offended. I'm just talking about it, I think, I hope, whatever, however you wanna read that. I don't like the strategy of walking the shuttle runs in 23.2. I think everyone should give their best physical effort. Number one, he says that he does not like the strategy of walking the shuttle runs. That's okay if you don't like it. That's your opinion. This is mine, my opinion. I put it in a video. People also have their opinions, did it, and got better on their scores. Great, cool, good circle. And then he says that he thinks that everyone should give their best physical effort. Effort is interesting because the way that I've always looked at CrossFit is more work done in less time or more work done in the same amount of time. So if you're doing 10 minutes and if I get 100 air squats in 10 minutes and you get 90 air squats in 10 minutes and it was a 10-minute AMRAP of air squats, then I did more squats. And I guess that doesn't always mean that I gave more effort, but this isn't a test of effort. This is a test of fitness. And currently, me giving 100% effort looks very different than it did 3 years ago where I was giving 100% effort. Because I think about 2-3 years ago, I was in the tippy top best shape I had ever been in. And if we're gonna keep using the same example of 10 minutes of air squats, and I know that those numbers don't really make too much sense, but if I were to do 200 air squats 3 years ago, I would bet that the effort level would look very same to the effort level that I would do present day and say, hey, Andrew, try as hard as you can and do 10 minutes of air squats. And if I get 100 a day and 200 back then, the difference isn't how hard I tried, not the amount of effort that I put into it, but where I'm at right now as a human. So he's saying that he thinks that everyone should give their biggest physical effort, and I don't think that people walking on the shuttle runs is taking away from the effort put into the workout. Because from what I heard, it wasn't very much easier. They were just getting better scores. They were still trying as hard as they could. So let's go to the next line. I understand having to walk here and there, but based on the individual's physical capacity, if you're able to run, then run. And the way that I read that is you don't understand pacing.
But just because you can beat him up doesn't give you the right to.
One workout ago, we had to do the repeat, which is 14.4. And at the end of that workout, there are 20 ring muscle ups. And I've done an unbroken set in my life of 35 ring muscle ups. I did the workout live for everybody to see, and I got to the ring muscle ups at maybe the 9.5 minute mark or something like that, which leaves now then 4.5 minutes until the completion of that 14-minute AMRAP. So I look up at the rings, and at that point in time, I make the best decision for myself at that time, which I believe I opened up with 8 ring muscle ups. Maybe it was 6 or 7. This is from the individual who has done 35 ring muscle ups at some point in his life, and most recently I did 25 because, as I said, I'm not the human I used to be. But maximum effort.
Maximum effort. Maximum effort!
And having the ability to do something doesn't mean that it's the best idea to do it if you're trying to maximize yourself within a test. If I were training, and let's just say I wanted to do 14.4, and I wanted to go train, I could do the entire workout, I could do it the exact same way, and then I could complete that training session with a one big set of muscle ups at the 9.5 minute mark, and then I would call it. But that would not maximize the test at that point in time. Now, it wasn't the test, but it would just give me a data point for myself. I'm learning, it's all good.
These are the years when a man changes into the man he's going to become the rest of his life.
But that's the difference between testing and versus training, is that if you can run, it doesn't mean that you should run. And people were running. Remember, I said I walked the whole thing, but that was because it was for the freaking spectacle of a YouTube video, and my scores don't matter.
Is that what you think? You think?
But there was a point in every single one of those people's workouts where at the end of the workout, they ran. They were running because they needed to get further along in the workout. I think it was as many reps as possible. Can show you at the end of his video, he was running.
I think I'm gonna redo it. I woke up to a video of Andrew Hiller just walking the whole time. I have to try this strategy, get it going.
But it was very premeditated, there was an idea behind it, and he was maximizing the test. The next one says push yourself and improve. Again, testing versus training. You're not supposed to improve when you're testing, and there's actually the perpetual state of testing, which would decrease your overall fitness level. It's why off seasons are important. It's why people like Matt Fraser, people like Mal O'Brien, who is now Matt Fraser's freaking protege, doesn't compete in the off season, and maybe Jason Hopper didn't go to Wodapalooza and compete. Now, yeah, while Mal O'Brien did it, there was a whole bunch of other competitions that they didn't go to because they were trying to improve, and they were doing that via training. But here, it's a test, and you don't improve in a test. Push yourself in a test, the same way where I would push myself 2 years ago on air squats, and present day on air squats, they look very different. But the only way that I would get back to 200 air squats is if I were to train to do so. Is your strategy better, and will it help you improve your score? Perhaps. And for every 10 people that I heard got better, I heard one person who didn't quite work out for them. And I talked about that in the video. Maybe you are better at shuttle running. Maybe you're a runner, maybe you've got a running background. And if that is the case, it probably isn't smart to ease off on the shuttle runs. Are you challenging yourself physically, pushing yourself through being uncomfortable and training your endurance? I would say no. Right there, cool. Even the word training is being used because are you challenging yourself physically? Yes.
Yes!
Everybody who did that, as I did it, and you know what? It felt exactly the same as it did on that Thursday evening where I ran.
25 burpees still felt as I did yesterday. And I started feeling sorry for myself.
Ran the shuttle runs. It wasn't a run, it was like a half shuffle, whatever the hell, but it was a very similar feel at the end of the workout. Are you pushing yourself through being uncomfortable? Uh-huh. Yeah. Training your endurance? Not important, doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter!
At that point in time because it's a test. That is unless you're a CrossFit Games athlete, and then I suppose you could use it as a training stimulus, but also I would say that 99% of the people who did this were not CrossFit Games athletes because this is different for them than it is for us. I'll talk about that at the end. This is just my gut reaction to seeing people who are more than capable of running decide to walk. Maybe that's on CrossFit to program a better workout where walking would not benefit the athlete. Just my opinion. So the whole thing is an opinion. And I say that it is 100% on CrossFit because we see all of these instances where they now have not thought about what's going to happen when they do certain things. Dave Castro was kind of a nut on this, right? And maybe this is Adrian Bosman. I can only imagine what this looks like to Adrian Bosman. He probably doesn't follow me on Instagram. He probably doesn't keep up with anything. But if you were clicking through my story, he'd be like, oh my God, how is this happening? They're all walking and getting better? No! Next year, no walking on the shuttle runs. But then how do you constitute what is walking. The only thing that would have made sense would be to de-incentivize you to walk, and maybe you do that by not putting as many burpee pull-ups at the end and maybe make it more of a test of shuttle running, and it's about the balancing act between it. And what I just said maybe a minute or so ago is that this looks very different for the elite level athletes than it does for your average everyday person doing the open. And at this point, I fit into that camp. And at this point, it looks like Alex fits into that camp. And at this point, it looks like everyone other than maybe the winners like Scott Tetlow, Mal O'Brien, and whoever CrossFit Games posted getting 270 reps that we've never heard of. Those people are never going to get those scores by walking. If you're going to be in contention for possibly the games or a semifinal, you're never going to get a score in the 165, 170, 180 range by walking this. And the things that you take away from seeing that everybody is getting better by walking are a couple of things. One, the test is terrible if it is indeed a fact that you wanted people to run, because clearly you can walk and you can improve. And by walking, you're able to decrease your heart rate, get back to the burpee pull-ups, maintain a better pace. If you did walk and get a better score, you know that you are probably not as good as you could be at running. And I have a history of knowing that I'm not a good runner. But it is incredibly odd to me to see that there's an individual, one that I know very closely, named Alex, who will say something like, if you're able to run, then run.
Do it!
And on the workout just before, I gave the example, which is ring muscle ups. You get there, you do as many as you can because you can.
But just because you can beat him up doesn't give you the right to.
But let's just say that's not how you want to look at it. In 2014, we did that same workout. And there were some people who did those cleans touch and go.
What was I supposed to do? Run away?
No.
Because they're faster and because you can. And because maybe you don't know how to pace quite yet.
I know, I went through exactly the same thing at your age.
But fast forward to the year 2023, and I would bet 9 out of 10 people, with the exception of maybe some females because the bar is a little bit lighter for them and maybe they're a little bit better at cycling that barbell, everybody is doing singles because you know how to pace.
No, not exactly.
And this is just an issue of pacing. Pacing for CrossFitters, pacing so that you can continue to move in the workout and get the best score possible.
These are the years when a man changes into the man he's going to become the rest of his life.
And there have also been instances where I have had athletes at my freaking disposal and I'll say, hey guys, you gotta do these touch and go. Do these touch and go because we can do singles any day of the week, but you have to see what it's like if you were to do them touch and go. What does it make you feel like? How do you react? What does your body do in that situation? But the difference between then and now is people are more informed. People know that singles will keep your heart rate lower because you're not doing the eccentric portion of the lift. There's a point of deloading right there every single time. There's this point of relaxation. You contract, you relax. You contract, you relax. There's synchronicity to it, kind of like runners who know how to run with a cadence. And if you go touch and go, it's up and up and up and up and up, and then you explode. The same way where when you look at this workout, if you're just doing burpee pull-ups and then you run, and then you do burpee pull-ups and then you run, and maybe you're excited, so you go a little bit too quick in the beginning. You're running a little bit too quick. If you're an elite athlete, perhaps the point in time never comes where you need to slow down. Justin Medeiros, Roman Krennikov, they don't need to slow down. Mal O'Brien, she didn't need to slow down. You can see it with their scores. But when you see the people that this did play out well for, the reason that it did play out well for them is because they were essentially doing singles on the run, turning into a walk. Every single time that they got back in that shipper to the point in time where there were the cleans, or at this point the shuttle runs, they decided to do singles. And why? So that when they got to the muscle ups, they could do bigger sets, they could get further along in the workout. And the goal there is to do exactly what Alex is saying in his Instagram story, which is to, in his 5th or 6th line, challenge yourself physically because everybody was, and then also push yourself to be uncomfortable in training and improve your endurance so that at some point in time, maybe you put off that point of fatigue a little bit longer. Some people turn into freaking Justin Medeiros, Roman Krennikov, and Mal O'Brien. Some people don't care. Some people just thought that it was very cool to walk the workout in the open. And at the end of the day, it might just be the misconception of what walking looks like. Humans have been around how long? And CrossFit has been around how long? Nowhere near as long as humans have been. But the history of running goes back billions of years. I don't know, whatever, long time. And there's this entire state of mind about walking versus running and showing effort versus being soft, to which I get that 100% I get that. But there's an article in the CrossFit Journal, and I think that it talks about 4-minute mile times versus a heavy bench press, something like that, and how to be the best at fitness, you won't ever see the person with a 4-minute mile time being considered to be the fittest person in the room. You would by people who don't really know what they're talking about. Oh my God, you've had a 4-minute mile time? That's freaking crazy. That's insane. That's so cool. But the reason people think that that person might be the fittest in the room is just because that's what their experience is. All they know is running because it's been around for so long. Billions of years since the dawn of time, people run, and that's better. And if you see someone running versus someone walking for an extended period of time or even faster, yeah, that person's in better shape. If you want to get into good shape, what's the first thing people do? They go run. And if you can't run and you gotta walk, it's because you're out of shape. And if you see people walking on a CrossFit Open workout, you're going to make the assumption that either they're lazy because they're out of shape, or they're not in shape, so they are walking because they're out of shape, and they're gaming the workout because it's cheating, or maybe it's a bad test. And I do actually think that it's a bad test for this reason. That doesn't mean that it shouldn't be exploited. And as Alex said, not trying to attack anybody here, the debate is healthy, and he's curious to know what others think, and then he tags me at the bottom. That's what I think. I think that over the course of 1 billion years of human running and whatnot, sometimes it's just smarter to walk. And if you don't want us to walk, write a better workout.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
And that's all I have to say about that. Andrew Hiller, out.